Final Fantasy VII. So many opinions have been voiced over this title, and so much has been said about this game that all I can really add is my opinion. First of all, I don't think that the game itself is overrated. It is one of the best games in the genre. However, I do think that the hype surrounding this game is very overblown. People keep saying that this is the greatest game of all time, and of course, everybody has been dying for the remake. In this video, I'll quickly explain why I think this game is great, and then why I think this game gets so beloved, like almost ravenously by fans. The story of Final Fantasy VII is the crux of the game, following Cloud Strife and his friends as they take down a mega corporation and save the planet. It's a story that covers a lot of pretty big themes. Environmental issues, identity problems, love, loss, maturity, friendship, revenge. It's a fantastic story that covers so many themes. Best story ever though? Yeah, probably not. It's still kind of convoluted at some points, especially with the rather lackluster translation, but I'll explain why people still call this story the best video game story of all time later. The characters in the game are also really well defined and likable. Cloud is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. He's really not that emo, guys. Come on, let it go. Barrett, Sid, Aerith, or Aerith? What is the actual name? I don't know why they keep switching it up. Aerith, Tifa, and even Kate Sith. They're all memorable and they play off of each other pretty well. And everyone has something to add to the story. The gameplay of Final Fantasy VII is what it is. It's a Final Fantasy game. The only really noteworthy thing about it is the materia system. That was a lot of fun because it gave you a lot of customization, which spiced up the gameplay, let you use lots of different strategies, and just made you feel like these characters are yours alone. Speaking of gameplay, this game had a ton of mini-games, and I gotta say that although it was really interesting that they put in so many unique things in this game, some of these mini-games were extremely annoying. Let's just say that Cloud Strife's coma later in the game was probably brought on by me hitting him in the head so many times on that damn mountain, and not for other reasons. In terms of graphics, damn, this game is incredible. I hate when people attack these character sprites and their blocky Lego graphics as the argument that this game's graphics are poor. First of all, graphics don't really matter, guys, but more importantly, the fundamental aspect of the graphics is the world that this game creates. This is a role-playing game, and it's one where you get lost in the world. Boy, does Final Fantasy get you lost in this world. The game's locations are absolutely breathtaking. They're so well designed and very memorable. I've played dozens of RPGs and seen dozens of these worlds, but this one really sticks with me. Do you know that one scene where you're running on the abandoned roller coaster with the soft sunlight in the background? That honestly has to be one of my favorite moments of any video game I've ever played. It was incredible. The game's world was incredibly vast, immersive, and just a joy to explore. The music in the game was also very good. I've already gushed about it in another video, but the music complements the setting so well that it really creates an unparalleled experience. Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about why I think this game is so religiously treated and defended. First, remember that this game is the game that brought RPGs into the spotlight, meaning that to many people, it was the first game in the genre for North Americans. It was the game that basically sold the PlayStation. So my first reason for why this game is so popular is the fact that so many people caught on to the hype and actually played it. It was most people's first. You always remember the first. And often nostalgia makes you look back on the game and makes you see it better than maybe it actually was. And you're much more likely to defend something very precious to you in your memories. However, I could already hear some of you saying, I didn't play Final Fantasy until years after it was released. So let's get to the big reason why I think this game caught fire and it's still so highly regarded and defended. So yes, I think that the legacy and the hype of Final Fantasy VII are two huge reasons that it's still remembered, played, and celebrated today. But I think one of the underlying reasons that it is still remembered today, and probably the biggest reason, is the game's main theme, which I believe is identity. Broadly speaking, most people who play Final Fantasy VII are young men, teenagers. Your teenage years are a time filled with finding out who you are, going through many changes physically and in personality until you find your identity and accept it. This is the main theme of Final Fantasy VII. Barrett loses an arm and his place in his hometown, becoming a renegade and a father. Tifa was once impulsive and overly emotional, but we see how she became the rock of any group she joins. Cait Sith goes from traitor to companion after his disguise is lifted. Yuffie turns from despicable thief to a loyal friend. Vincent is reborn as a vampire. Do you get the point? This is a game about transformation and rebirth, all in the context of identity. Cloud Strife embodies this. He walks around with a false identity and takes on the role of someone he idolizes in an attempt to deal with his past and flaws. Of course, it all catches up with him, and the player follows him on his journey to carve a new path, to find out who he really is, and accept himself for who he is. That's a lot like what teenagers, or hell, anybody has to go through. Have you ever emulated your hero, even for a bit? Like taken on certain elements of their personality and used those for your own life? I have. Haven't we all had the terrible experiences in high school or whatever and discovered who you really are? Of all the games I've played, I think that Final Fantasy VII is the only RPG I played that really got that. And I really feel like this is why the game resonates with so many people on a personal level. And of course, if something becomes that close to you personally, you'll defend it with your life. I think this is why so many people feel close to games like Earthbound, that capture the childlike glee we all felt of exploration, discovering new things, strange, unexplained nightmares, and just calling your mom when you're homesick. These games captured an element of being human so well that the audience became attached because of that. In conclusion, I think that Final Fantasy VII deserves most of the praise it gets. However, I think it is really overblown to call this the best RPG of all time. And I think of a lot of the people that say that this game is garbage, either are the kind of people that don't like when something's popular, or they played it and they don't get it why it's so popular. Not everybody's gonna agree on anything, so let's just leave it at that. That doesn't change the fact that people like Final Fantasy VII because it's a good video game. I believe they love it for a different reason, but that's just my theory. In any case, I just hope that they don't botch or try to change the remake too much, but that they just give us a polished version of the original. Our hopes are high, Square Enix. Don't mess with them, or trust me, I know some people that have a Buster Sword with your name on it. Thanks for watching.